I have to admit, I didn't really until I came across this article from JVF Solutions. The title is kind of a mouthful. Beyond PDF: Why Restaurants Need HTML Menus.
Catchy, but it gets right to the point, doesn't it? There's actually a lot more to those menus than meets the eye.
Right. So, like we said, today we're going to take a deep dive into this article and uncover some of the hidden stories behind those restaurant menus. And trust me, this might actually change how you pick your next meal.
Oh, I think it will.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that really jumped out at me was this idea that those PDF menus, those are ones that, a lot of restaurants just sort of slap up on their websites.
Yeah, the ones you have to download or zoom in and out of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those might actually be hurting the restaurant's business.
Really? I mean, yeah, they can be a little annoying to use sometimes, but hurt their business. How so?
Well, it all boils down to something called SEO. That's search engine optimization. And it's basically how people find restaurants online.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't, web wizards, can you break that down a little bit?
Yeah.
What is SEO and why is it so important for a restaurant?
Sure. So imagine you're, I don't know, craving some tacos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah?
So you hop on Google and you search tacos near me.
Yeah. Guilty as charged. I do that all the time.
We all do. Well, SEO is what makes sure that the best taco places in your area actually pop up at the top of those search results.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So the better the SEO, the more likely people are to find that restaurant.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Search engines like Google, they have a really hard time reading the content inside of a PDF. It's like they can see the menu is there, but they can't really understand what's on it.
Oh, so all those delicious descriptions, the daily specials, even the restaurant's address, all that's basically invisible to Google.
You got it. It's like hiding a secret recipe.
But if Google can't see what's on the menu, how does that actually hurt the restaurant?
Think about it. If you're searching for, let's say, vegetarian lasagna, and a restaurant has it on their menu, but it's locked away in a PDF, you might never even know they have it.
Ah, so they're missing out on potential customers who are looking for exactly what they offer.
Precisely. And it's not just about what's on the menu. The article points out that Google also looks at how quickly a website loads. And guess what? Those PDF menus can be pretty hefty.
Oh, I've definitely been there waiting for ages for a PDF to load on my phone while my stomach is growling.
And you know what? Google doesn't like that either. They actually penalize websites that load slowly, so that restaurant might end up even lower in the search results.
So it's like a double whammy. First, Google can't really see the content, and then even if someone does find the website, they might get frustrated and leave because it's so slow.
You got it. And there's another layer to this whole thing too, which is accessibility.
Right, accessibility. I know that's super important, making sure everyone can access online information, regardless of any disabilities they might have.
Exactly. And the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, well, that actually applies to websites too, including restaurant menus.
So PDF menus, they could actually be breaking a law.
They could be, yeah. Because a lot of times they're just not designed with accessibility in mind. Think about someone who uses a screen reader to access websites.
Oh, yeah, that technology that reads the content aloud.
Right. Well, if the menu is trapped in a PDF, that screen reader might not be able to make sense of it.
Oh, wow, I hadn't even thought about that. That's a pretty big problem.
It is. And it's not just screen readers. People with low vision might need to adjust the text size or the contrast. And you can't always do that with a PDF.
So we've got kind of three strikes against those PDF menus then. They hurt SEO, they create accessibility barriers, and they can just offer a pretty bad user experience overall.
You got it. 3 strikes, you're out.
So what's the alternative? What should restaurants be using instead?
Well, the article talks about HTML menus.
HTML, isn't that like the language of websites?
It is. And basically, an HTML menu is designed with code that search engines can actually understand.
So it's like speaking Google's language.
Exactly. Google can see all the information, all the delicious details, and it can index it properly so it shows up in search results.
So when someone searches for like vegan pad thai or gluten-free pizza, those restaurants with HTML menus are more likely to pop up.
Exactly. And not only that, HTML menus are usually much lighter and faster to load, so no more waiting around for a PDF to download.
That's got to be a win for everyone, especially those hungry customers who are ready to order.
Right. And the best part is, HTML menus can be designed to be much more accessible. You can adjust the font size, the colors, everything.
So it's not just about being findable online, it's about being inclusive and welcoming to everyone who visits that website.
Exactly. And that's what makes them so much better, in my opinion.
Okay, so I'm totally on board with the whole HTML menu thing, but what about restaurant owners who, might not be tech experts. Creating one of these might seem a little intimidating.
I get that. But the good news is, it's actually not as complicated as it might seem.
Really? How so?
Well, the article mentions some of those popular website builders, like Wix, Squarespace, WordPress. You know those platforms that let you build a website without having to code everything from scratch?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those. So they have options for creating HTML menus too.
They do. They have templates and tools that make it pretty easy.
That's a relief. And if they still need a little help, they can always turn to some experts, right?
Absolutely. Like our friends at JVF Solutions, for instance.
Right. JVF Solutions specializes in this stuff, so they can help those restaurants make the switch from those clunky PDFs to those awesome HTML menus.
Exactly. And they even offer a free consultation. So restaurants can kind of pick their brains and figure out what's best for them.
That's really cool. It's like having a digital menu coach.
You could say that.
So for our listeners who are ready to ditch the PDFs and embrace the HTML, how can they get in touch with JVF Solutions?
Well, they can visit their website at jvf.com/contact or give them a call at 978-707-9583.
Perfect. So it sounds like there are plenty of resources out there for restaurants who want to make that change. But before we dive into all the nitty-gritty details of crafting a killer HTML menu, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore some more of the key ingredients that can really make a digital menu stand out from the crowd. Okay, so we've made a pretty strong case for why HTML menus are the way to go for restaurants in the digital age. But what makes a really great HTML menu? Like, what separates the good from the amazing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And, it's more than just swapping out that PDF for some fancy code. There's definitely an art to it.
Okay, so let's talk about that art. Where do we even begin?
Well, I think the first thing is, just like with any good menu, it's got to be user-friendly, right?
Makes sense. No one wants to be squinting at their phone, trying to decipher a tiny font or scrolling forever just to find the dessert menu.
Exactly. So think clear headings, concise descriptions, a logical layout. You want people to be able to find what they're looking for quickly and easily, even on a small screen.
So is that where responsive design comes in? The website automatically adjusting to fit whatever device someone is using?
You got it. That's essential for a good user experience, and remember, Google cares about that too.
Right. Happy customers, happy Google. But beyond those basics, are there any secret ingredients that can really elevate an HTML menu?
Absolutely. One thing that often gets overlooked is the power of visuals.
Oh, you mean like pictures of the food?
Exactly. High-quality photos can make a huge difference. It's about enticing those taste buds, giving people the visual preview of what they can expect.
It's like the difference between reading a recipe and seeing that perfectly plated dish in a cooking magazine.
That's a great way to put it. Those visuals can really bring the menu to life. And don't forget, with an HTML menu, you have a lot more flexibility than you do with a static PDF.
So restaurants can really get creative and let their brand personality shine through.
Precisely. They can use their logo, their color scheme, even custom fonts to create a really cohesive brand experience.
It's like turning that menu into an extension of the restaurant itself.
I love that. It's about creating a virtual atmosphere that matches the real-world dining experience.
Speaking of experience, the article mentions some pretty cool features that go beyond just listing dishes. Things like online ordering or reservations built right into the menu.
Oh yeah, that's one of the biggest advantages of an HTML menu. It can be so much more interactive and dynamic.
Yeah.
Integrating those features directly into the menu can really streamline the whole process for customers.
It's like having a digital concierge right there at your fingertips.
Exactly. And it's not just convenient for customers, it could benefit the restaurant as well.
How so?
Well, think about online ordering. It can help reduce phone calls, minimize those order errors, and even encourage people to order more because it's just so easy.
And having that online reservation system can help restaurants manage their seating capacity and reduce those pesky no-shows.
Exactly. So it's a win-win for both the customer and the business.
This is all starting to sound pretty high-tech. Are there any special tools or resources out there that can help restaurants create these really awesome feature-rich HTML menus?
Of course. Like we mentioned before, those website builders like Wix or Squarespace, they offer templates and tools to integrate all these features. And if a restaurant needs something more customized, they can always turn to experts like JVF Solutions.
Right, so they can get that personalized guidance.
Yeah.
But beyond all the technical stuff, are there any content strategies restaurants should keep in mind when they're actually writing the menu itself?
Definitely. One thing I always recommend is highlighting any special offers or promotions right there on the menu.
Oh, so things like daily specials or happy hour deals.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way to grab people's attention and showcase what makes that restaurant unique. And speaking of unique, don't be afraid to let your brand's personality come through in those menu descriptions.
You mean like instead of just saying cheeseburger, get a little more creative and descriptive?
Exactly. Maybe inject a little humor, highlight local ingredients, or even tell a little story about a signature dish.
It's about making that menu as engaging and enticing as the dining experience itself.
Absolutely. It's about capturing the essence of the restaurant and conveying that through the digital menu.
All right, you're making me hungry just talking about this, but before we go grab a bite, is there anything else restaurants should keep in mind when they're putting together those stellar HTML menus?
Oh, one last but very important tip. Don't forget to keep those menus updated.
You mean like making sure the prices are accurate and all the items are still available?
Exactly. An outdated menu can lead to some pretty frustrated customers and lost revenue. So it's really important to regularly review and update that menu to make sure it's reflecting the current offerings and pricing.
Right, it all comes back to providing a positive and reliable experience for those hungry diners.
Exactly. You want to make sure that digital menu is just as enticing and up-to-date as the one they'd get in the restaurant itself.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've gone from the perils of PDFs to the power of HTML, and we've even gotten a little taste of what makes a truly great digital menu.
It's been a delicious journey.
It really has. But before we wrap things up, I want to take a moment to bring this all back to our listeners. We've talked a lot about the business side of things, but what about the customer experience? What can our listeners do to advocate for more accessible and user-friendly menus online?
That's such a great question. And I think it starts with awareness. Just being mindful of those little details that we might not have paid attention to before.
So, like, noticing whether a restaurant is using a PDF or an HTML menu.
Exactly. Take a look at their website. Is it easy to navigate? Can you find the information you need? Those are all clues about how much a restaurant values their online presence and their customers' experience.
It's like a little glimpse into their digital DNA.
I love that. And if you come across a restaurant that's doing a great job, let them know. A little positive feedback can go a long way.
Right. And on the flip side, if you encounter a website that's a total nightmare to use, don't hesitate to reach out and share your feedback. It's all about encouraging those businesses to do better.
Absolutely. We all have a role to play in creating a more inclusive and user-friendly digital world.
So the next time you're browsing for your next culinary adventure online, take a moment to appreciate those restaurants who are going the extra mile to make their menus accessible and enjoyable for everyone.
Because a great digital menu is more than just a list of dishes. It's a reflection of a restaurant's commitment to their customers and their community.
All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the surprisingly fascinating world of digital menus. We hope you've learned a thing or two and maybe even gained a new appreciation for those restaurants that are serving up a top-notch online experience.
Bon appetit.
It's amazing, isn't it? How something as simple as a menu can actually tell you so much about a restaurant.
It really is. You know, we've been talking about PDFs versus HTML, but it goes beyond that.
What do you mean?
Well, like we said, choosing that HTML menu, it's not just about, being trendy or whatever.
Right.
It shows that the restaurant is really thinking about the bigger picture.
Like accessibility and user experience.
Exactly. And reaching a wider audience. It's like they're saying, hey, we want everyone to be able to enjoy our food, whether they're coming into the restaurant or checking us out online.
It's almost like a little window into their whole philosophy.
Yeah, but that. It's about being welcoming and inclusive, and those values translate both online and offline.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What can we all do with this newfound knowledge about, the world of digital menus?
Well, I think it starts with just being more aware.
Okay. They're
Aware of those little details that we might have overlooked before. Like next time you go to a restaurant's website, take a second to notice their menu.
Okay.
Is it a PDF or an HTML menu? Does it load quickly? Is it easy to read and navigate?
Right.
All those little things can tell you a lot about how much a restaurant values their online presence and, by extension, their customers.
It's like a little sneak peek behind the digital curtain.
Exactly. And if you're impressed by what you see, if a restaurant is going above and beyond to make their menu accessible and user-friendly, let them know.
Oh, that's a good point. Like leave a review or send them a message or something.
Exactly. A little positive reinforcement can go a long way. And on the flip side, if you encounter a website that's, a total disaster, a menu that's impossible to read, don't be afraid to reach out and let them know that too.
It's all about like encouraging those businesses to do better, right?
Exactly. We all have a role to play in creating a more inclusive and user-friendly digital world.
I like that. So the next time you're online, hunting for your next great meal, remember that those digital menus, they're more than just a list of dishes.
Right.
They can tell you a lot about a restaurant's values and their commitment to creating a good experience for everyone.
And who knows, maybe by speaking up, we can encourage even more restaurants to ditch those clunky PDFs
Uh,
and embrace the power of HTML.
yeah, wouldn't that be great? A world full of delicious and accessible digital menus.
A world where everyone can easily find and enjoy their next great meal.
That's a world I want to live in. All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the surprisingly fascinating world of digital menus. We hope you learned a thing or two, maybe even gained a new appreciation for those restaurants that are really putting in the effort to create a great online experience for everyone. And hey, next time you're browsing for a restaurant, take a moment to appreciate those HTML menus. They might just lead you to your new favorite spot. Thanks for listening.